starting with the hymn.
What's that, sorry?
Starting with the hymn.
I think we're starting with Sandra's gathering meditation, I think.
Okay.
And then the hymn.
Okay.
3, if you want me to announce. Good morning, everyone. We're going to start today with a gathering meditation from our wonderful pianist, Sandra Thomas. We have an opening hymn today as well, and I think the choir is going to come up and help lead it. It's number 389 in your grey hymnal, Gathered Here. And are we going to try and sing it as a round, guys, or are we going to sing it? Yeah, we're going to see if we can sing it as a round. And in order so that everybody can get it, we'll sing it through a couple of times, just in unison. And then we'll split it two ways, where we start at number 1 and the second part starts at number 3. Number 1's on this side and number 3's over this side. This side is Bob's side and this side is Bridget's side. So let's sing it through in unison first to begin with, so you can get the notion of it, and then we'll sing it through as a round a couple of times. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the and the power, Spirit, draw near. Awesome job, guys. Round of applause for yourselves.
Good morning. Welcome to Westside Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Linda Phippen, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am a member of the worship committee, and as a member, will be assisting with today's service. We're happy to see those of you who are here in person, but we're also happy to have those of you who are joining us on YouTube this morning or at some later time. Westside is a welcoming place for all who are open to sharing our values, regardless of one's personal identity, age, beliefs, abilities, lifestyle, or spiritual path. If you are here in person, we hope you will stay after service for coffee and conversation. If you're a visitor, you may want to check out the visitors area, which is in the back of the sanctuary near the door. There you can find information about Unitarian Universalism and about Westside, and find someone who can answer questions you may have. Announcements about upcoming events and other information may be found in your order of service or will have scrolled on the screen if you are joining on YouTube. Later during this service, you're going to be invited to share your thoughts about what we do on Sunday and why we gather here. If you are streaming on YouTube, please put your comments or questions or thoughts in the chat, and we will read them out for the rest of us here. Okay, I think that's it. Now, Chris.
Thank you very much, Linda. No, it's our tradition. Yes, we do have a potluck after the service. If you want to stay for the potluck, that is if you're here in person, or maybe you're online and you decide, oh, potluck, I'll need to drive in for that. So yeah, we'll be getting set up after the service. Please stay even if you didn't know about it or you haven't bought any food. I'm sure there's always plenty of stuff, and if there's not, we'll all have a little bit less, but everybody's welcome to stay and join us for the potluck after the service, and it's kind of appropriate based upon some of the things I'm going to be talking about today. I also wanted to say here at Westside we have a tradition of lay-led services. This is one of those days where the service will be lay-led. My name's Chris Edkins. I'm a member of the worship committee, and along with Linda, I'm going to be leading the service today. Good settled minister, the Reverend Carol Bordeaux, is off on vacation this week, but in a couple of weeks' time she will be back in the pulpit and doing the services again, and we look forward to that time. And if you came hoping to meet with Reverend Carol, I think about 2 weeks' time, she will be back here, and you'll have an opportunity to see her do her thing and meet with her then if that's what you wish. So this Sunday, I think in the newsletter when it went out on Wednesday, it was like, why do we worship on Sunday? My focus is more like about the things that we actually do on Sunday, the elements that go into making up a Sunday service, and why we incorporate some of those elements, for both traditional historical reasons and because of the preferences of our particular congregation. And I'm going to go through a lot of service elements, some of which we maybe don't do that often now, so that you kind of get a little bit of flavour of some of those things, and you can comment on those at the end when we have our discussion. One of the elements that I'm putting in today, which maybe we don't do too often, is a responsive reading. And the responsive reading I've chosen for today is number 439 in your order of service. So if you'd like to grab writing, and we'll get through it together. Last time I did one of these, I suggested to people that we not stay in unison and that we just go at our own pace. It was kind of chaotic. I don't think it worked out too well. So, I think the thing I learned from that is we all actually have to go at the pace of the slowest reader. That's the way that it works in a community, is we have to kind of make accommodations for each other. And what tends to happen is we all kind of slow down to the speed of the slowest reader, and that's just what we have to do so that we can make it comprehensible. So we'll do it that way today. So I will start. We gather in reverence. We gather in reverence before the wonder of life. The wonder of being together, so close yet so apart.
Each hidden in our own secret chamber.
Each listening, each trying to speak.
Yet none fully understanding, none fully understood.
We gather in reverence before all intangible things that eyes see not, nor ears can detect.
That hands can never touch, that space cannot hold, and time cannot measure.
And that reading was written by Sophia Lyon-Fars. Thank you, everyone. Now it's time in our service to invite the Tibetan singing bowl to ring. So as we ring the bowl, I would invite you to come into an attitude of meditation, of calmness. Leave behind you all the things of the week that have been preying upon your mind, and just be here right now with this community in this room and listen to the bowl as we invite it to sing.
Chris can light the candles and the chalice this morning. Chris will light the chalice, and we will also light our 2 community candles as a reminder to keep in our thoughts those who are in need and suffering wherever they may be. Our reading this morning comes from the worship web on the UUA website. It's written by Dory J. Summers, and it's called A House for Our Dreams. We, all of us, build houses for our dreams, the masonry and lumber and glass and tiles, a solid form wherein we see our hopes, a shelter and protection for our growth. This house shall be a dwelling place for courage, for integrity, for love, engendered, nourished by a family that speaks of we and means all humankind. These walls shall represent the privacy and dignity of individuals, the open doors, a welcome to all people, all ages, and all generations. The windows shall keep light of inquiry illumining from outside and within. May all words spoken here be born of love, and energy rekindle in the hearts of those who dreamed this house, who plied the tools and paid the price to actualize the dream. May dreaming never cease for those within who know the world to be a troubled place, but dare to struggle with imperfections toward that brighter hope, that better day. Let memories add warmth, a heritage, a quilted patchwork stitched with history, of kindness, of daring for the good, of funny moments, jokes and smiles and tears. This is a precious place, as every home, that shelters those who love and strive and share. Its blessing is in lives that meet within, in living, learning, caring, sheltered here. I think this was intended originally to about an actual physical building, but actually the church is all its people, and we build the building every time we get together.
Thank you very much, Linda. I appreciate your elements that you've put into the service today. Thank you. Another one of the elements of our Sunday worship that we have not been doing so often recently is the story for all ages, which of course we used to do every week, and we used to have a large number of younger people in the congregation, and we would invite them to come up and sit here on the step, and we would have a picture book and read a story. And I wanted to do a story today, because it's the story for all ages, so we don't have to have young children here to do a story for all ages. And the story for all ages is what kind of gave me the inspiration for the topic of this service, because even though the topic is kind of like a bit meta, talking about a service, I also have a little mini sermon to do, because that's one of the elements of the service. And the topic of the service is of the sermon is a springboard from the story for all ages. A couple of years ago, I did a story for all ages, and I thought, wow, based on the topic of the service, an old story that I had that my father had recorded on a reel-to-reel tape recorder when I was young would be a great story to do, and it was called The Little Red Hen. And that story was all about a hen lives in a barnyard, decides to bake some bread, and asks the other barnyard creatures to help with all the processes that go into making the bread. Planting the seeds, reaping the crop when it comes to fruition, grinding the corn, and baking the bread, all things that take a little bit of effort. And she asks, at each stage, which of the animals are going to help her with the processes, and they always all say, when it's work involved, they all say, not I, said the horse, not I, said the pig, not I, said the donkey. But when it comes to eating the bread, they're all like, oh yes, I'll help you eat the bread. They all want to be involved in that. And I kind of hadn't really thought through very much the message that was given, and I got a little bit of pushback from people about the message of the story, which is, if you're not prepared to put in work, then you don't get to share in the benefits of that work. It may not necessarily be the foremost message that this institution is putting forward. We believe in inclusiveness, and especially in helping those who are not able to help themselves. So that's an important element to bring in. And I have another story today on a similar topic, and I'm going to bring that into the sermon when I do it too. So here's my story, and it's a Sufi story. A man was walking through the forest and saw a fox that had lost its legs, and he wondered how it lived. Then he saw a tiger come up with game in its mouth. The tiger ate its fill and left the rest of the meat for the fox. The next day, the fox fed by the same means of the same tiger. The man began to wonder at God's greatness and said to himself, I too shall just rest in a corner with full trust in the Lord, and he will provide me with all that I need. He did this for many days, but nothing happened, and he was almost at death's door when he heard a voice saying, "O you who are in the path of error, open your eyes to the truth. Stop imitating the disabled fox and follow the example of the tiger." Thank you, that's my story for today. Okay, can I borrow the order of service, please? Thank you. Now it's time to take up an offering for the benefit of the church, and I think Sandra has some music for us. Our Share the Plate partner this month, or this quarter, is the Unitarian Universalist Association. So, yes, we're going to sing From You I Receive, and the words are in the order of service. So our Share the Plate partner is the Unitarian Universalist Association, so a quarter of any funds that are not specifically allocated that go into the plate will go to the UUA. So if the choir would like to come up and help lead us in singing From You I Receive, that would be great. Thank you. thank you to our greeters today who have been greeting people at the door and handing out the orders of service and collecting our offertory. Another part of the service that we don't always partake in, but we have done in the past, is prayer and meditation during the service. So I wanted to just include that in the service for today. So I picked out a prayer from our hymnal, number 524. Of course, as Unitarian Universalists, we have many different beliefs, and we relate to the ultimate reality in many different ways. So there are some people in our community who perhaps have been scarred by bad experiences in other religious institutions who maybe have a disliking for the idea of prayer, and I would invite you that if you do not wish to join in with this prayer, just sit quietly and, you don't believe that you have to fully engage with it if you don't wish to. But I'm going to read out this prayer. The other thing we do a creator or the earth or the sun or whatever entities we see as nurturing us and bringing about the processes of life. And this particular prayer fits into that mould. It's addressed to Mother Earth and Star Mother. Mother Earth, Star Mother, you who are called by 1,000 names, may all remember that we are cells in your body and dance together. You are the grain and the loaf that sustains us each day. As you are patient with our struggles to learn, so shall we be patient with ourselves and each other. We are radiant light and sacred dark, the balance. You are the embrace that heartens and the freedom beyond fear. Within you we are born, we grow, we live and die. You bring us around the circle to rebirth. You dance with us forever. That prayer was written by Starhawk. And before I start the service, I'm also going to do a little meditation. I didn't put it in the order of service, but I was talking to Yetta before the service. I brought my flutes with me, and I'm just going to do a little meditation because that's part of, sometimes we do include a meditation in our service, so I'd like to bring that element too. I would invite you to either close your eyes or keep your eyes open as you wish. Just relax, get comfortable in your seat as we just go on a short journey together, just to relax and put our minds into a receptive frame. You are in the desert. The sun has set and the air is cooling off, but it's not quite the desert cold, it's just comfortable. On the horizon, beautiful colours are forming as the sun drops lower and lower below the horizon. There's umber near the horizon, green, purple, pink, beautiful colours of the sky, and above the stars are just emerging. The brightest stars of the sky in a dark blue dome. The wind hisses across the sand. From a distant camp of locals, a quiet music plays out. take a breath, come back into this moment here in this room. I feel very calm now. I don't know about you. So in my past, I've been known to have like an argument in my head with the scriptures. And one of these arguments that I've had in the past is about this topic of working and eating, and whether stuff is provided for us or not. One of the things that Paul says in the letters to the early church from Thessalonians is, "For even when we were with you, this we commanded, if any will not work, neither let him eat." And I thought to myself, well, you know, that is a little bit out of kilter with one of the things that Jesus said in the Gospels, which is, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body and what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothes. Consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap. They have no storeroom or barn. Yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable are you than the birds? Who of you by worrying can add a single hour to your life? Since you cannot do this very little thing, why do you worry about the rest?" And I was like, you know, there seems to be a little bit of inconsistency here. And in my mindset, you know, in my days when I was keen to pick an argument, this was a good fodder for that argument. But I'm kind of a little more quick to see that just because two different things seem contradictory, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's not good knowledge in them, and that under different circumstances and when we're talking about different things, there are often contradictory things that actually both make sense, and I think this is one of those things. And it kind of goes back to our story of the little red hen, of course, and to our story that we had about the tiger and the fox, and about, you know, who is it that feeds those who cannot feed themselves. And there's a little bit of a deeper thing in it as well, and I'm going to talk about that too. So Paul was organizing a community, and of course when you're responsible for a community and you're organizing things, and you know you've got that weight of responsibility on you for housing and clothing and feeding people, of course you realize a very practical thing, that unless everybody who is capable of doing a certain amount towards the maintenance of the work of the community, then a couple of things happen. Either things don't get done that need to be done, or the resentment builds up that I'm doing work that maybe I find unpleasant, but these other people over here who are equally capable of doing that work are not doing it, and therefore, you know, that does not seem just. And I think we can all understand that is a very real thing in life, that if those who are capable of doing something do not do it, and yet we feel an obligation to do it ourselves, then, you know, there's a sense of injustice involved in that. So I think we can see Paul's point of view there. And if we look at the thing that Jesus says, he's really talking about something, you know, quite different. He's talking about the spiritual way of life and how we should relate to life in general in a spiritual sense. For example, let me kind of tell you, maybe there's many people here who don't believe in a supernatural God, and, you know, to whom they think this may not be particularly relevant. But if you think about the way that the world has been presented to us, when we are born, we come into a world in which all these things that we need in order to be able to live a life and build a house and eat and prosper have been provided for us by the world before we ever came into existence. Before we were born, the stars were there pumping out their energy and making the elements of the planets that went into this world, and the earth was created, and all these millions or 4 billion years of evolution took place to provide us with all these species that are here, and a breathable atmosphere, and all these wonderful things that, when we're born, they're just here presented for us. And what an incredible miracle that is for us, Certainly we ought to be grateful for the things that are provided to us by grace that just kind of come to us without us having to have made them. Now, I love a quote that Carl Sagan, I'm probably going to get the details of it wrong, but he said, if you want to make apple pie from scratch, first you have to assume the universe. And I think that's very true. We did not make the universe, no matter how, whatever else we believe. We know that human beings did not create the universe, and all the things that are provided for us that help us to live, the processes of life that brought us into existence, we did not create those, but they are there for us when we come into existence. And in fact, if we think about it, we could not have come into existence unless all these things were already in place to allow us to be born in the first place, The unbroken line of generations in which creatures had more children and that they evolved over time, and then, the animals and the plants came into existence and changed over time until they are what we know them to be today, creating the atmosphere in their process and all the rest of it. So I think we ought to kind of separate these two things. One is kind of like a social thing, which we know to be true, that there's a sense of injustice that we have when, as communities, people who are capable of contributing to the community because they have the ability and the means to do so, do not do so, and yet they think that they ought to have an equal opportunity to reap the benefits of it. And the grace that we have that brought us into existence and provided all of these things that we need, these are both true things, and they can exist side by side, and they don't have to argue with each other. So I, for one, am grateful for all the wonderful things. I'm a meat eater, so I'm quite happy to eat the sausage sandwiches and the chicken as well as the vegetables. But for those of you who, don't do that, we have all these wonderful plant species with, proteins in them that we can also eat. So that's the point I want to make today. That's my service and my sermon. And I'm going to go now into our discussion phase where, I'm going to open up the floor for people, if you want to talk about like the elements of the service, some of the things that maybe we've included in this service that we don't usually, whether you like or dislike those things, some things that we haven't included in this service that maybe you would like to see more often, or things we used to include that you're glad that we don't do anymore, or any comments on the topic of the service itself. You're quite welcome to make those too. So, shall we, are there any comments from our remote viewers? Yeah, okay, so let's open it up. Somebody needs to grab the handheld microphone and pass that around. I'll get that because you're monitoring the internet.
All right.
I will grab the handheld microphone, which appears, let's see, is it working?
Yes, it appears to be working. You have to speak right into this microphone. So is there anybody who has a comment or question who wants to start us off? Thanks, Brad.
I would really like to see more of the story of all ages. I mean, even though we don't have a ton of kids here anymore, I think, stories are a really good way to convey messages that are more approachable than other means, and I really enjoy them. And also it's welcoming to families when they do come. So.
Thank you, Yetta. Who's next? Bridget. Oh.
I like this part, an interaction. That's what, like, because when I first came, it was on Zoom, so every service you got to talk, you know, because we were 100% Zoom, and I like that, and that's why Thursday evening conversations I host and love, because we all get to be in the sermon, you know, and feel like we're part of it, and I love that part, so. And I like the meditation and the bowls, obviously, too, but.
Thank you, Bridget.
My comment was very much the same. I think that part of every service should be feedback from us so we can discuss what the minister or whoever's presenting the sermon had to say.
Thank you, Jerry. Oh.
So Curtis Dush from the watching us online says, "I love the flute and like the stories too." The flute was great, by the way.
Thank you. Who's next, Barry? So I'm keeping some very rudimentary notes just in case I forget, because I'm getting old.
I like music, and maybe we can explore different ways of doing that. I'm sure that there are people in the congregation or friends that we could bring in who can play an instrument or sing or whatever, and could, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be hymns. There are other ways of doing music.
Thank you, Barry. Who's next?
It's important to me that we have something like the singing bowl and Sandra just playing quiet music, something that you can slow down your thinking in your mind and of what's out there in the world and bring yourself to the moment. That's an important thing to me to have in a service.
Thank you, Judy.
I just have a question. I've noticed that we're not doing much congregational singing anymore. There's not been many hymns put in the order of service, and I don't know if people like that or don't like that. Do you wish we were singing hymns? I'm just asking.
There you go. An invitation for more comment. Michelle?
I really like that we've gotten more creative with the music. Like, I love the flute today. I love the suggestion to try and get more people involved. So for myself, I really like that the creativity that we brought to the music.
Thank you, Michelle.
We used to have services where we would have people call out hymns that they wanted to sing. I enjoyed that.
Well, there is a problem with just singing any music you want to sing, which the choir has been bumping right up against. Because we are on YouTube, this goes out to the world. And so a lot of the composers or publishers of songs want, I don't know what the word, but to get paid for the performance time. And even every hymnal in our book does not have clearance for us to be able to do it freely on YouTube. And so that's been greatly limiting what's available to us.
Thank you, Judy. Yeah, we do have a license. We have a couple of licenses that we use for music that allows us to perform some pieces of music from the hymnal, but definitely not everything, unfortunately. Oh, okay. Yeah.
This is is again coming from Curtis. She says, I like the interaction too. It's a little more challenging virtually, but I appreciate hearing the discussion, and I appreciate that our chat is monitored and added to the bigger discussion. She means that, not that we're that we are watching, we are paying attention to what people are saying who are watching us virtually too.
Thank you, Curtis, and thanks to the people I didn't call by name, Shirley and Judy. We are, yes.
Okay, so I really enjoy a lot of the different elements of service, and I like mixing it up, so I like the fact that we've done some things today that we haven't done in a while, so I find that really interesting. I am someone who really enjoys ritual, and so I enjoy things like responsive readings, even though I know maybe that's not like the most popular thing. But anything that kind of maybe is a little different, one of the things that some UU churches tend to do is you get lectured at for like a long time, and so this church is why one of the reasons why I tenure, because I don't feel like I'm being lectured or talked to for a long time. I mean, like, I went to college, I have a degree, so I don't need, if I want to do that, there's other places. So I really enjoy those different items. I too like the stories, because parables are a wonderful way to learn, and it sometimes gets the message across better than just talking to me for 20 minutes. So it really is for all ages. And the music, you know, and I don't, one other comment, I know the licenses are in play, but I think sometimes like we're trying to move away from them because they're not cool or hip anymore, but it's part of our tradition, and I really enjoy it. Like, I was doing a trash cleanup in the mountains yesterday, and I started singing a hymn while I'm cleaning up trash. You know, it's one of those things that, you know, I am a lifelong UU, and so some of these hymns are baked into my conscious, I guess, and so you know, it's part of who we are. So I think we can definitely explore other things. Like, I really enjoy the meditation and the flute today, but you know, we need to, I think, you know, explore new things, but you know, keep some of our roots as well. So, and I'm going to answer for my kids. They come here because I make them. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary Frances. Dwayne.
I would like to hear more about this license that you're talking about. So some of the hymns in our book we cannot broadcast over YouTube.
Yes.
Which ones?
The license is about, you know, the list of songs is very long, but that's longer.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, there's a difference between, obviously, you know, when you buy a hymnal, you get the permission to sing those songs as a group in church, but that's not the same as rebroadcasting it. You know, out, like making a record of it and selling it, or rebroadcasting it on the internet is a different thing. So, yeah. So some of them, our license covers those, some of them it doesn't.
Yeah, not to belabor the point, because how Chris explained it is basically it. But, you know, part of it, even an old hymn, I find this very frustrating because I love the old Quaker hymn, which I can't say the name of. No, how can I keep from singing? My life flows on in endless song, and so forth. And that's an old hymn, but we can't do it from our hymnals because the owner of the copyright to the arrangement that's in there. So they're all different layers to this stuff. So that's not on our list. And there are just a number of ones that we run up against like that. But we deal with it, and there's a lot that we can do, but that does hamper our variety sometimes when it comes to music.
Thank you, Alan. Oh, I'll get you, Yetta, for your double dipping.
Yeah, one of the things that attendance and membership has brought to me is the opportunity to, I know that sometimes Christian practices, ritual, worship styles can be problematic and triggering for some people, but for me it's been an opportunity to find a way to not throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak, and to find comfort in things that I grew up with, while also, I mean, I'm always open to change, so while also mixing it up, as Mary Frances said, I love learning about new traditions and new teachings and new, blending that all together has been really healing for me.
Thank you. Go, Jette.
Sorry to take a second turn, but I wanted to make a comment on your actual sermon, which was really awesome, the topic of it. And one of the things that I remember learning or reading somewhere is that, and this might be heresy, but apparently Jesus was something of a slacker. And, maybe it was, other people had to worry about all the logistics and the money things. So it was interesting to have that brought up.
That is an interesting point, actually. I've got great respect for the Buddhist tradition, and they say that when you achieve like the awakening, and you have this incredible insight into the nature of reality, nobody can say what it is that you're going to do afterwards, because it's unique to each individual person. Of course, some people sit in meditation for the rest of their lives because, that is what they're called to do, and others go off, trying to do, serve a particular cause because it's something that is close to their heart and they love it. It's not work anymore because it's part of their purpose. They've shed all of that, but nobody can tell anybody else what it is that thing is going to be. Each person has their own gifts and each person brings their own understanding into the world. So I guess, I heard a story one time when the British Empire was in India, when they were saying about, they were, handing out the jobs and saying everybody must do this and do that. They said, oh no, you can't give a job to this guy because he is really good at doing nothing. And they go, well, nobody's allowed to do nothing. He said, no, you don't understand. He's really, really good at doing nothing. And he got a pass, on that because, that was his job, to experience life and to be wise and not do anything.
Well, Jette got a second turn, so I will too. But I'm reminded of the story in the New Testament that it's been so long now since I was active in the Baptist church that I can't remember exact details and I'll get things mixed up. But it always bothered me, and that's the one where Jesus went to the home of Mary and Martha, who were sisters, who had the well-known brother Lazarus. And I always forget which one, but one of them just plopped herself down at Jesus' feet and said, "Tell me everything, Master." And the other one went in the kitchen and started getting a meal ready. And as I recall, Jesus chastised the one who was busying herself around the house, trying to take care of them and get the meal ready and so forth, for not just coming in and spending her time with him. And I know that there's value in just letting all that go and paying attention to your guest, especially if it happens to be Jesus. But I always felt sad for the other one because she was doing her best and taking care of what she thought needed to be done.
Well, Jesus had no problem with those things. He could make bread and wine whenever he wanted to.
Thank you, Ellen.
I don't want to be a microphone hog. I just want to also say I really enjoyed the lay services as part of the tradition at Westside. I think Reverend Carol is great, but I think our congregation and our members have a lot to offer, and each person here has their own story and their own perspectives and things we can learn from them. So I enjoy this tradition as well.
Thank you, Mary Frances. We still have a little time. Barry?
I'm not sure how this balances with the desire for some ritual, but anyway, I like inventiveness and variety. A couple of the services that I really remember, one was a couple of years ago, I think David Howell, I think, led it, where it was about the spirituality of fun, and what a great service I think that was. And then even farther back, some years ago, I remember, I think Alice Frost kind of took the lead on this. There was a service that was delivered by hand puppets, and quite a profound service, if I remember right. And it really sticks in my mind. It was a valuable service for me.
It was Alice Frost who had the hand puppets, and yeah, she used to do the stories and did a really great job.
A couple more comments from the viewers on YouTube. Curtis again says, in reference to what Yetta had said, that could be a song, Jesus was a slacker, but I agree with that point. The problem is the concept of one person's work and contribution can be subjective. And Diane Bird adds, I love our Westside people.
Yes, I love them too. Anybody else? We are kind of maybe getting towards the top of the hour. Perhaps we're getting to wrap it up. But anybody have a burning desire? Okay, if not, we will do our benediction. At the end of our service, we extinguish the chalice that's burning behind us, but we don't extinguish the light of love and community that is represented here. We will carry that with us into the world until we meet again. Thank you all for your participation.
Thank you, Chris.